Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to what is going to be a very passionate conversation about client outcomes and client care and professional upgrading and just becoming the best expert for your niche and your clients. I have with me here Lorene Sauro. And Lorene and I go way back. So, welcome, Lorene.
Thank you, Lori. It's great to be here.
Why don't you start off by sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, well, I am a registered holistic nutritionist, although I tend to call myself a functional nutritionist now because of what I do and how I approach health protocols, understanding clients, etc. And I have taught for many years. I taught many students, including the one in front of me right now. That was, but as she said, many years ago.
Almost 20.
I know it's ridiculous.
Wild. Yeah.
Anyway, but now I do upgrading programs for my colleagues, health coaches, holistic nutritionists, any type of wellness practitioner, because of what I saw was a need for better quality information. And there's not a lot of I'm going to use that word a lot, but not a lot of conversation as to what makes sense. And so a lot of people just make statements, like you go to a seminar or a webinar and you just hear the doctor or the ND or whatever make statements. There's no context to it. Yeah, they'll cite a few research studies here, but it's really not painting a picture of how the body is functioning and what's going on inside of us. And when we're trying to figure, and again, it's not our job to diagnose a client, but when we're trying to figure out what is the best approach to helping a client, we really need to have better information that explains the anomalies, that shows the exceptions to the rule, to counter the information we're getting, because some of it is short-sighted and it's not accurate anymore. If I told you, and Lori can confirm this because she's been in the industry almost as long as I have, but the number of things that I was taught that are not true is enormous. It's almost like it's a completely different world now. Most of that because of the gut information, but it's more than that. It's the phytonutrient information. It's the hormone information. It's understanding, the immune system better. That there's different types of inflammation. Like it's so not so black and white the way we were taught, Lori.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And in working with practitioners and coaches, it's always amazing to me the discrepancy between what we have learned in the certification, in the diploma program, in the degree, and applying that to a signature coaching program or whatever type of protocol it is that we are creating. It's like, in our professional training, it's theory. And there's very little training on how to then take that theory, that theoretical knowledge, the science, the research, and translate that to a usable program where clients can actually follow it and get results. And I see a lot of practitioners and coaches who are struggling to take that information and provide it in a usable way, to the point where, like, I'm sometimes even questioning, like, what did you learn in your certification? Like, how are you now as a life coach? How are you now as a health coach? How are you now as a nutritionist, or whatever the case may be? How are you going to use the strategies and the skills to and apply them to clients? Like, I'm seeing the discrepancy big time.
I think it, I think it's because the concept of the nutrition information or the food information or the lifestyle information isn't taught in the practical application of what a person will actually do. And once you have the knowledge and you have ideas of what might help a client, you have to almost kind of like leave that there, right? Those are your options. And then now start focusing on the person and seeing where their stumbling blocks are, what's holding them back, where's their, I do a lot of talk in my programs and when I do webinars and whatever about how you become, more psychologically active in helping the client experience their protocol. Experiential learning, it's everything. So that they're learning as they go. They're not, sorry, I have my morning voice. I don't normally talk a lot in the morning. So you have to really focus now. Okay, it isn't about what I know. It isn't about what I think they should do. It isn't about how much I think is going on with them. What are they actually going to do, and how do I help them do that? And then as they grow with that perspective, they take on more. They will do more. They will eat better. They will get off their butts and walk around, their neighborhood. They will do these things as they sort of are, your job is to kind of calm them down and help them focus on what's going to work for them first. What are they going to do first? What are they going to do second? And it's a much more logistical thing to design the protocol. And this is hard with a signature program because, and I see this all the time, I work with many of the people who take my programs because I do tons of done for you stuff. So then they come to me because we have, lots of support and stuff, and they want to know how to take that done for you stuff and put it into a signature program.
Mm-hmm.
So the first question I say to them is, what is it that this person is going to want to know? What is it can they do? And how do you design that program? Because your signature program is basically designed in general for the convenience and the efficiency of the business to fit one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I always tell them is, okay, do that part, the nutrition part, as your signature program, but build in something where there's interactivity so that you can individualize. Otherwise, they're not going to go through it and they're not going to get it done.
Yeah.
And it has to be flexible for them. And it's not hard. It really isn't. You just have to see the program with two legs. This is the information they need to learn. And then this is the part that helps them put things into practice and take the step.
It's so true. And as you were talking, I was thinking about there is the sort of protocol of the action steps. So we say learning lessons and action steps in Zero to Clients. And this is the disconnect. It's because professionals, it doesn't matter whether you have a master's, a PhD, none of us, to my knowledge, none of us were taught how to take theoretical knowledge and turn it into a protocol that puts client compliance at the forefront, that puts client experience at the forefront. Because we can write our clients a long list of everything that they should do, but likely they won't do it. And so I think the biggest opportunity exists right now for those practitioners and coaches who have a level of expert knowledge in their condition that they solve, who can then take that expert knowledge and translate it into a protocol that the client, that is built for the lowest common denominator. And then you can sort of, through coaching, personalize. Like, I am certain that this is the future. Like, I am certain that those of us who have that skill set, who are able to then go to, take a course like you provide in terms of like a higher level of professional upgrading in a given condition right? Like gut healing, right? And they can understand what's going on and then take that and translate it to, okay, here are the micro steps that you are going to take, client, to be able to resolve the issue. Like that is where the biggest opportunity lies. Because with all due respect to the allopathic medical condition, they're not doing that. That's not happening. Like not even a little bit. And so I do think that for those people who can see that, those life coaches, health coaches, whatever, who can understand that, you know, whatever condition it is that their client is experiencing, there are, you know, theoretical strategies, research backed strategies, even if it's like a self-worth thing, right? And you're a life coach, there's research that informs us on how to improve that over time. If you can translate that versus just pulling things out of, you know, thin air, if you can translate that, you win because you'll get client outcomes.
Yeah, and it's that you're right about this is the direction things are going. Even within the allopathic system, it depends which part of it you're in, but there is more discussion about motivational interviewing and listening skills and things like that. But they still don't have the tools that we often have as wellness practitioners to really break it down into practical steps, everyday type of steps. They're still doing it to apply it to their medical model of whatever their protocols are. And what people are, and I see it all the time from my colleagues, when they go to design their program, they're in nutrition teacher mode. They design it like they're a nutrition teacher. Well, you're not a nutrition teacher. You're not a health teacher. The coach word is a much better word because it's really what you're doing, but you need to understand what coaching is. And coaching is holding the hand. Coaching is looking at their individual life and saying, okay, well, maybe in your case, this would be an easier way for you to implement drinking water, for example. You would never think that drinking water, just that suggestion, could overwhelm people, but I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen to people where they end up not even pursuing the protocol because they couldn't get started with drinking water, as a simple example.
Yeah.
And again, it's because we're not looking at them as the person and what their life is like. We're looking at what is physically missing in their environment from a nutrition perspective or a health perspective.
Yeah. And I think too, because I have this conversation a lot, because health and wellness practitioners have been doing wellness for so long that we wouldn't even consider something as simple and easy as drinking water to be a limiting factor in success. Like we wouldn't even consider it. We're so removed, I think, at least from the people that I'm chatting with, we're so far removed from the general population that, to your point, and we work on this with practitioners and coaches inside of Zero to Clients as we are helping them make their protocols and their signature coaching programs. You are not teaching a course on holistic nutrition. You are not teaching a course on life coaching, right? And I think that's often how people approach. You're not teaching a course on gut healing. You're not teaching a course on self-worth. You're not teaching a course on breath work. And I think that's oftentimes how practitioners and coaches approach it, not just in their coaching programs, but also social media. And they approach it as if they are teaching theoretical subject matter versus having conversations around symptoms and experiences and tips and hacks and strategies and action tasks as the expert, right? I don't need to teach about blood sugar necessarily. I need to help you do the things that are going to balance it. You don't actually need to understand it in order to balance it. You just want to know what to eat and what not to eat. And I think that's a big shift that has to happen for practitioners and coaches, is they have to go from, to your point, being a teacher to, it's almost like being a teacher in high school versus being a kindergarten teacher. Like, we have to become kindergarten teachers. You have to become a kindergarten teacher to be like, this is how you put the puzzle piece in the thing. Like, let's turn it around here. Like, let's not working this way. Let's do it this way. So it's like, oh, well, you can't just drink plain water. Okay. Well, what about adding a flavor? Okay. What about drinking through a straw, right? Drinking through a straw is much easier for some reason to consume the water. Okay. Well, how can you make sure that you actually fill up the water? Like, you're troubleshooting. Like, that's all we're doing. It's like, so you go and you create the protocol, and then you have to troubleshoot the whole thing with every single client. That's the way that I see it. And those practitioners and coaches who can do that, who have the expertise in their condition, gut healing, self-worth, trauma, whatever, right? Who can put the protocol together and then can troubleshoot with clients, they win.
Exactly. And it isn't as big of a mind shift as you might think it is. It's just the information you're presenting them is different than what you learned in school. And to Lori's point about blood sugar, do you have to explain what blood sugar is? You have to give them some kind of framework so that when they fall off the wagon and their blood sugar drops, they need to recognize the symptoms. But that's the most they need, because once they feel better, you want to give them some tools to stay that way.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they need an entire nutrition lesson on dysglycemia and diabetes. And if they are diabetic, yeah, they should really understand what's going on with them. But again, you can't give them too much too soon or they're overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the steps that practitioners and coaches can take to gain a little bit more in-depth knowledge around the condition that they are, wanting to become an expert in, and then translating that to practical coaching so that their clients get results and have a quality client experience?
Well, one of the things that is really important is don't fall down the rabbit hole of black and white health information. Anybody who tells you something, somebody said this, and I can't remember, it was just, I heard this like last week, that if somebody is absolutely certain about something, you should be suspicious. I can tell you, there's so many things that we were taught with absolute certainty and are still being said with absolute certainty, but nothing supports that. The research doesn't support it. So one of the things you want to do is become much more a better critical thinker. Whenever somebody says something is, this is bad for you, or this is going to cause inflammation, or it's going to do this, I immediately Google to see if there's anything that says that food or that thing causes inflammation. It's the first thing I do. I'm always looking for the counterpoint. And if you Google the counterpoint, you can often find out, sometimes you find nothing. You say, okay, well, this maybe has some merit, right? And other times you just find that this has no research and there's lots of counterpoints. So you have to get really, really good at that. I created a membership program to help my people on my list have a place to go for conversation, so you can talk to your colleagues, because it's amazing what your colleagues can tell you about their perspective with their clients, what they've learned, things that they've done in their programs that have helped them. There's all kinds of ways to upgrade your knowledge with good quality upgrading. It should be preferably within someone who has to stay within a similar scope of practice, because that was another frustration I always had, and maybe you did too, Lori. You go and you listen to doctors or NDs talk, and yeah, they can give you some good information about how the body functions, but I found myself constantly translating what they were recommending back into food. So if they were talking about indole 3 carbanols, I had to talk, oh, that's broccoli. And so it's really important that where you get your information is an open process. It's not a black and white. This is the absolute protocol. This is what you must do with everyone with autoimmunity. This is what you must do with everyone who has heart disease. Or it just doesn't work that way, and it doesn't work for people. And the good news is, and this is what I always am telling people, because we work with food, and there's so many different kinds of food, there's many more options for people to discover what works for them and enjoy it. Because remember, food's meant to be enjoyed. So if we're guiding them on that journey, no one's going to complain. If they get to experiment with recipes or try new foods or find new restaurants, or because you're encouraging them to eat more of certain kinds of foods, and when I say foods, certain kinds, I mean categories. I don't mean specific foods. All of a sudden, you've got clients who are like loving the journey, right? If you are helping them and you understand time management, right? I talk a lot about time management when I talk about to members of my programs how to create protocols. What is their time management skills? How can you be the voice of reason? Can you be the one who steps back and says, wait a minute, why can't you do this first and then do that? Oh my God, do they love that?
Yeah.
When you tell them something simple and they went, why didn't I think of that? You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. And I think that's a huge difference between, because when I work with practitioners and coaches and zero to clients, sometimes they struggle because they're like, the client needs to be self-led. I'm like, no. How can they be self-led when they don't know what they're doing? Right? They don't know. And so the client is self-led in the sense that they're telling you the resistance, they're telling you the struggle, and then you are supporting them. But what people want and what people will pay for is to be told what to do, right? They're coming to you because they value you, they see you, they as an expert who has training and a protocol, a program, a coaching program that can solve their specific problem. And so if you leave it up to them and you ask them to make choices, that is then going to overwhelm them. And so I think there is this balance between leading them and then allowing them some space, giving them some space to do some trial and error based on the instructions that you've given them. They show up and they're like, this is working. Okay, this isn't working so great. And then the skill set that most of us have to go and learn is how to coach them to then comply with the remainder of the recommendations. And it doesn't matter if you're a life coach or a functional nutritionist or a nurse practitioner, that skill set is an added skill set that we then have to learn, because we assume that people are just going to do what we tell them to do. And that is not at all what happens.
Not even close.
Yeah.
No, it's your point is very valid, and it's important that we understand that there's a necessity on their part when they come to you. They've come to you because they have a reason. There's something they want solved, and they're coming from the mindset that there is a solution that somebody's going to provide, and it's going to be black and white. And unfortunately, they haven't learned that the reason they haven't gotten help from any circumstances, whether they went to the doctor, the naturopath, or whatever, is because there isn't a black and white answer. And you're the one who gets to tell them that. And so how you tell them that, but if you tell them you're breaking things down into small steps and it's nothing that's going to overwhelm them, and you will be discussing them with it, trust me, you just took a whole weight off their shoulders, and they're very, very grateful. And then they're more open to hearing the possibilities and then working with you to do the changes.
And as we're talking about this, what I don't want is to freak people out more, because I know that so many practitioners and coaches already feel incapable, inept, like nervous that they're not going to be able to get clients results. And I think this is it's par for the course. It's understanding what your role is And if we're talking about having the role of practitioner coach, we're not even talking about having the role of the business owner. But right now, it's the role of practitioner and coach. And so, there is continuing education required. There is additional learnings required, like, reading a book on motivational interviewing, reading a book on client compliance, reading a book on the stages of change, really understanding. One of the best books that I ever read on this was called Shift. I think Switch. It's a light switch, and it's by Chip and Dan. I can visualize like the front cover. It's by Chip and Dan Heath. They've written a couple of books, and I think it's called Switch, and it's a light switch, and it's like how to create change when change is hard. And so understanding, going back to the beginning when we were talking about the psychological requirement of the client to change, we have already gone through that. We are no longer the ideal client. We're bought in. We're already bought in. And so we have to remember that our clients are not bought in, not even a little bit. Even if they've tried things previously, they've gone to see other practitioners, they've gone to see other coaches, they have not shifted. They have not bought in. If they had, likely they would have followed through to a greater degree than they have, but they haven't. And so everybody's buy-in is going to come at a different point for them. Some of your clients who enroll in your signature coaching program will never buy in. They'll never buy in, and they won't show up, and they won't do the work, or they'll do the work, but they'll complain the entire time because there's resistance, and they'll be difficult to work with. And that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It just means that the range of psychological change is vast. And it's really important as someone who transforms lives for a living to understand that.
And I think you mentioned something about how they want to see results, right? Like you, as a practitioner, want to see results, that you take on this burden of getting them results. And I think we need to understand that's not our job. Our job is not to get them results. Our job is to provide them with information so they can get themselves results. And we may not have all the answers, and we may not be the complete person situation that they need. If we can recognize that, we can often refer them to others who might help them further down their journey. And you're probably saying, well, thinking maybe if I don't resolve it, then why would they be referring to me? I can't tell you how many people who've come back to me who I could not help, but I sent them in the right direction. They came back and thanked me, and they referred people to me because even though I wasn't right for them, I was a voice of reason, and I was somebody they could count on and talk to and listen, somebody who listened to them. And that is such a valuable asset you have, no matter what you know, no matter what your niche is, no matter what type of practitioner you are. That alone, people want. They want that more than anything. They're tired of not having anywhere or anyone to talk to in any kind of depth. I think we're in a world that's craving depth now. We're trying to get away from some of the superficial health information, and we want to go for the depth. It's almost like, I don't care what's healthy. What do I have to do? It's about, what do I have to do to be healthy? Stop telling me about what's healthy. Tell me about what I have to do, or give me information where I can figure it out. And I think we're entering that era, which is a good thing. It's a really, really good thing. But you have to take pressure off yourselves and thinking you have to be the solution all the time. You are offering them solutions, but they're the ones who have to figure out if they are solutions. And as long as you present it that way when you are advertising your programs, you say, look, nobody knows everything. Nobody does. You can't even get your doctors to say, absolutely, this will help you. Okay, even they won't do that. So we need to take a page from that and say, look, I can tell you what, I can share all kinds of information with you about your condition, what the gut problems, how they evolve and stuff like that. You can maybe figure out where things went askew for you. And I can tell you what things can help heal that and fix that, or what to try. but you're the one doing the work and you're the one who will solve the problem. I'm just going to be the person that you talk to get ideas, and they'll love it. They'll love it. I know there are some people out there who absolutely want it black and white. They're the difficult ones. Yeah. Those are the difficult clients.
Yes. And I think too, just to expand on that for a minute, you know, we put so much pressure on ourselves in terms of absolute results. I must get each and every client the best possible absolute, otherwise I'm a failure. And just like we don't know when a client will be at their I'm done moment and pull the trigger and want to work with us, therefore our job is just to continue to market and to continue to hold space so that when they are ready, they will then come to us. In that same vein, we should never put our own what's the word I'm looking for? Like assumptions on what results mean to the client and what a quality result is for the client. We should never expectations. That's what I was looking for. We have this expectation that every single client needs to hit X result in order for our program to work. And for some clients, drinking water consistently is the biggest win of them all. And we're looking at that and we're like, that's dumb. Like, really? Like, that's your win? Like, you now drink water consistently? Like, are you sure you don't want a refund? Really? And they're like ranting and raving, like, oh my God, I drink water and I've been trying for 20 years. And for real, like, I know I'm being a little facetious, but you know.
You're actually not, because I can't tell you how many things I've been reading lately about what what are this, like, I'm doing a lot of longevity research right now, and
Hydration.
all the lists, and hydration is there. I just did a liver program. Hydration, it's all hydration.
Yeah, hydration. So I think that, you know, we have to really be careful about placing our own assumptions and expectations of what success looks like on our clients. Because to some clients, drinking water that's all. That's great. They got their, you know, they got their money's worth out of the program. For other clients, it could be eating breakfast. For other clients, it could be, you know, going a day without being triggered. Like, we can't, you know, we know what the desired outcome is in a general sense, but our role is not to place our own assumptions and expectations on the client. Our job is to be able to facilitate their experience to the degree that they feel successful. And we don't get to decide what that is for them. And that's a very dangerous thing that I see happening, where practitioners and coaches are evaluating their own program based on their experience and what they think success should be for clients.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, because it's a lot easier to work with the client when you don't do that. It's a lot more of an enjoyable experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use the word bond. The bond is better between you and the client. I mean, this is not about you making friends, but there is a bond between practitioner and client. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I learned a long time ago is that part of the healing process that a client can go through is the energy emitted from the practitioner to the client, the positive energy emitted from that creates a healing environment that psychologically helps them. And when you psychologically help them without being, you know, in any direct way, you're not being a psychologist, but just creating a more positive environment for them, it starts the healing process in the body. And there's tons of research to support that.
That we could dive down that rabbit hole for like 3 days. But I think the takeaway point here is it is so important to separate our own mindset stuff and our own insecurities and our own expectations and just put them in a box Because if we really are going to be have a successful coaching program, it's not about our own expectations. It's about our experience and our expertise, then translating that into an experience for the client. And that's it. And that's it, right? Our expectation can be put on our business, but not on the experience of the client. And I think that I know that we have to separate that, because otherwise you will show up, just to Lorene's point, you can't show up in a way that your clients need when you are worried about if they are getting results or not, right? So I think we have to just really separate that. And if the majority of the clients aren't getting the results, then we have to have enough integrity to go, okay, well, let me go and revamp the program based on the feedback that I'm getting, right? Like, that's all it is. It doesn't need to be a big deal. It's just having enough integrity to say, okay, you know what? Version 1, not so good. That's fine, right? V2 will be better. And that's it. Like, think of how many iterations of medication there are, how many iterations of the iPhone there is, like, it's not a big deal. It's just, if the intention is the best possible outcomes for the client based on what they are saying, that's how we operate. That's how we move forward.
And new information comes in. Of course, you're going to want to incorporate it into your program.
Yeah.
I'm revamping my gut program right now for the 4th time since 2015. Okay, because there's just new information, new perspective, new ways to approach the gut, and I want people to have it. I want people to have it. And so there's nothing wrong with revamping your program. There's nothing wrong. Everything evolves. Nothing is static. Yeah. Everything evolves.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you for this convo. I know that this is going to be very helpful for people, just to really see a perspective of what it is to be the practitioner, to be the coach. Where can people go and learn more about you?
That's a really good question. Well, my website is thedigestorsdilemma.com, but my professional side doesn't have a front facing. So I do have, if you go there, there's a link for the Inspired Learning Hub. I'm in the process of creating another product training hub, which is free to practitioners, which will be on my website. You'll see little ads on the right-hand side. And if you want to know more about the membership site, I did provide a link. I don't know if you send out a link.
Yes, we will.
Okay, so I did create a landing page, which I'm assuming all of your viewers know what that is, a landing page with an example of an educational webinar and a discussion meeting, so they can get a sort of flavor of it, and then they can go there. And if they want to sign up for the membership program, we have meetings twice a month. We have free workshops.
Amazing.
And I just surveyed everybody to try to figure out what they liked best, and they like all of it. I was hoping,
because we're nerds and we like research and we like talking about this stuff. I mean, we can talk about blood sugar and poop all day long. So, because we're nerds, and that's,
I know. So I kind of thought, they might like this better. I knew that we got really great turnout for the workshops. It must be the workshops. No, they said all of it.
Amazing. Okay. Amazing. Well, we will definitely have those links. Thank you so much, Lorene. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for watching, and we will chat with y'all soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.